Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be part 4 of the MK2 1.8t build, and in this video we're going to be installing your O2J shift box up into the tunnel. We're going to be installing your gas tank and running the lines all the way up to the engine bay, and then we'll be installing the subframe. So before we get installing the O2J box, I just want to let you guys know there's a ton of different ways to do this. I'm just going to be doing it the way I did on my 24 valve. I really like how high it sits and where my shifting is and how close I am to the steering wheel and everything. So if you guys are seeing what I'm doing and you don't really like the location, there's a ton of different ways out there you can look up and try. So here's that part under the car in the tunnel. We're just gonna make a cut here, and then make one like here, and then get this thing out of there. Not good when sparks are flying up in there. I'm gonna put something over it. I was trying to like just work around it, but now they're just gonna be shooting right up in there. Now I'll get the grinder and I'll grind all these out. So I just tried my O2J shift box in here, and I was hitting it up there so I could see where I need to drill the holes, but I still don't like this little lip here, because I try to get my O2J box as high as possible so the shifter is even closer to me. So this is fine down here. I'll clean this up and then spray the metal so it doesn't rust, but I'm still gonna grind this little lip right here just in case it's gonna hinder it that much, and then I'll get a drill and I'll drill these out once I get this done. Okay, so now that we put the O2J box in here and the bolts made these two marks on the tunnel, I'm gonna be go get my drill, and then we'll drill these out. Okay, so now that we're done cutting the bracket from underneath the tunnel, we're going to be moving on to the O2J box. So these bolts right here work thread in perfectly to the rear. So we're going to be opening up the box, we're going to be taking these out, and then our rear is going to be pretty much done. Like this is going to be our bracket for the top of the tunnel, and then these thread in, you know, we're going to drill some holes, thread in right to the rear of the box, so our back is going to be sitting up nice and tight. So the front, we're going to just get a little bit taller bolts than these. Okay. So now that we have it open, you can see there's one kind of in the way. We can't get to it. So we're gonna have to undo this just to you know, pop this out. It's really easy, just a little clip here that you pop off. This pops down so you can get these two bolts out. So the bolts we're taking out are T40s. And then this little clip. Okay, so now that we have these out, these are, you know, for the rear, and they thread in perfectly. So that's where they go. And now you need two of the same threads. I'll have what bolts you need down below in the description, and maybe I'll just put it right here. But yeah, you need two bolts, and now we're gonna put these bolts, thread them through right here. Okay, so now that those are tight in there, I'm gonna put the linkage back on, and here is the clip. There we go, clips back on. All right, perfect. So now we can put the cover back on. All right, so now that we have the bottom on, we're gonna go under the car, and I'm going to shove this through the holes that I drilled out. Hopefully we can put the washers and the nuts on, and then we can make our brackets that we need. And we're good. So yeah, the bolts that I got are perfect, went right through. Now we'll come from top and see how much we have, and then we'll hook up the back. Okay, so now that we're on top, you can see that the bolts that we put in there are pretty much perfect. We're gonna pull this carpet back and put the washer and nuts on, and then we're going to be tighten this up, and it's gonna pull the shift box up high enough, and then we'll make a bracket and put the second OEM screws in. I know it doesn't look like it here, but once you put the nuts on here, we make the bracket and we pull this up, it's gonna get even higher. And I think it was going in reverse, it hits right here. So if you're doing it like I'm doing it, you're gonna need to notch this area just a little bit right here. Now I'm gonna push it back through and do that, but I just wanted to show you guys, like if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, it's gonna pull it up so high that, you know, it's gonna hit right here. I think it was reverse. It was hitting the first time I did this on my 24 valve. So I'm gonna push this back down, I'm gonna notch this out a little bit. Okay, so I'm done notching that out. I think that's gonna be enough. When we put the bolts on, the back and put the nuts on, and it sucks it up more, if we need to clearance it more, I'm just gonna drop it down and do it again, but I think that will be plenty. Okay, so you guys just saw me suck up the front with the 2 bolts, and now we're going to be moving to the back with your OEM bolts from the front. We're going to be making just pretty much just really easy bracket. I'm going to be pretty much, this is just a spare piece of metal that I found laying around in the shop. So I'm going to be pretty much just putting this right over. I think I'll actually use this hole, just drill it out a little bit, so that one will fit perfect with this one over here, and then I'm just going to mark it with a pin where I need to drill on this one. Okay, so with the same drill bit that you use to do the holes in the tunnel, same one I'm going to use to drill this hole out, and then I'm going to drill that one. Okay, so now that we have the 2 holes drilled, I'm going to cut off some of the sides because this piece is way too big. All right, now that we drilled the holes, cut off the sides, let's go see if it fits. Okay, so you guys just saw me tighten these, and it pulled it way up, and then I went to the front again and made sure those were tight. And so this is really high up here. As you can see, you know, my hands on the steering wheel, it's really close. It's right there. So there's only one problem that you have to watch out for, and I think I had to grind a little bit underneath. We're gonna go back underneath now, and where the cables come out, I think we need to grind a little bit of the tunnel a little bit. I can't really remember, but this is exactly how I did it with my 24 valve. So yeah, I just, you know, I love the position where it's at. It's like it's like one of those aftermarket ones that you put on top, but it's, you know, I can still put my console on, and I can still have a boot on bottom on top. So yeah, we'll go underneath and check, make sure the cables are okay. If they're not, we'll grind a little bit, and if they're okay, we'll just leave them. Okay, so we're underneath, and it is sucked up way in there. And just like I remembered, right here where the cables come out, there's this like little, if you guys can see it, there's this little lip right here. And I just don't like how hard this one cable is on there. This one's fine over here, but this one, it's not touching anything else. It's just this one little like seam right here. So I'm gonna get the grinder, I'm gonna put it down, I'm gonna get the grinder, and I'm just gonna grind just this little bit out right there, so then the lines will be perfect. All right, so I just got back up here from grinding underneath, and I put all the bolts back in, sucked the box way back up again, and now I have no resistance. You know, if it's pinching on that little seam that I showed you guys, it'll be a little bit hard. You'll feel resistance going back and forth, and right now it's like perfect. So for right now, I'm gonna call this good. And again, guys, this is how I do it. A lot of people, you know, use the bracket in there sometimes to bolt it in and everything. A lot of people don't like how high it is because your boot, it's not gonna, you know, when you shift, this is gonna come off of down here, but I put 2 boots on. I put a boot coming from the bottom and then I just keep this one on. So some people don't like it. I don't really care. I like it being really high. So that's how I do it. Check online if you guys want to do it. There's tons of different ways. I'm sure in the comments there'll be a lot of people explaining different ways to do it. So I hope this helps you with this install. Now we're going to move on to the gas tank. Okay, so the gas tank. And obviously this is not how I was planning on doing this, but the footage of me of installing this, I used my other camera and you can't see anything. It's just, there's no room under here. So I had to grab the GoPro and I'm just going to talk you guys through it. So I use a Mark III gas tank. So you can't go to salvage yards usually, or pick and pulls at least, because they drill holes in their gas tank. So you're gonna have to find someone parting out a car. So what you wanna do first is lower the gas tank out. And that is, there's 2 bolts right there. And then there's one over there. And these 3 straps right here, they go all the way across the tank. And then there's 1 bolt on the other side that you want to take out. And then the filler hose up there, the filler hose, there's 1 screw that you need to unscrew, and then the gas tank will come right out. So when you get your Mark III gas tank, you want to get the gas tank with the lines, with the fuel filter bracket, and you want to get the plug that goes into the fuel pump on the fuel tank. You just cut the lines, you bring that with you, so then we can splice it into the CE2 wires on the Mark II. And then when you have the Mark III gas tank, you know, putting it in, it's the same thing in reverse. You know, you want to make sure you drain all the gas out. I use a lift, and I usually put a piece of wood on it, and then I put it right here, and then I lift it up, and then I put the straps on and everything. But the reason I switch, you know, gas tanks is because of this. This is underneath your Mark II, if it's a stock Mark II, and this thing is terrible. These things always leak gas all the time, and it's just so much easier with a Mark III tank. You have your fuel filter here, and then you just run the lines all the way up. And again, I'm sorry you guys aren't watching me install this stuff, but there's just no room, and I had the wrong camera. I should have had the GoPro the whole time so you could have seen something, but it was just way too close and you couldn't see anything. And I'm down here, you know, rolling around, and there's just no room to film anywhere. So, okay, so now that we got the gas tank bolted up and we ran the lines all the way up to the engine bay, I'm gonna show you guys, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do this. Some people take the wires and go all the way to the fuse box and unplug it there. Other people take the wires out of the plug and switch them out with that. Like, do it however you want. This is how I have done it on my 24 valve, and it's the same way I'm gonna do here. I'm splicing all these together. They're pretty much color coded. You splice these together, tape them all up, and you're good to go. So this is the plug I got with my Mark III tank, and I just cut the lines in the Mark III Jedi, I think I got it from. So that's the plug that goes to this fuel tank. This is the plug that was on there. I cut this, and now with the Mark III plug, I'm just gonna splice these together. Okay, so this is gonna be pretty easy. It's just match them up to the color. So the red and yellow are to the pump, and the brown is obviously ground to the pump, and these other 2 are just for the gauges, I think. So you just match them up to the right colors on each wire, and splice them together, and you're good to go. Okay, so now that we got our wires spliced together, and I'm not going to show you how terrible mine looks, I just take the plug that we have and plug it into your Mark III pump, and we're good to go. So now we'll move on to bolting up the subframe. Okay, so last here is my Mark III subframe with my stock Mark II A-arms, and I have a Mark II sway bar on it and all poly bushings, and my steering rack has a manual conversion, and we're going to be switching to power, but I can switch that out you know, when it's all up in there. So I'm pretty excited to get this thing up in there. And you know, when you guys are taking off your Mark II subframe, just put the bolts right back in when you take them out, so then you know where they go. So yeah, we're gonna mount this up and be done for the night. So I have them all on there snug right now, because you have to put a couple in, move it around a little bit, and just keep them snug. And now I have them all going for sure, so now I can tighten them up. Sweet! Oh man, heck yeah, I'm so pumped right now. So that's gonna be it for night. I am super excited to have the subframe in finally. Just, oh man, it's getting so close. So that's pretty much it for the body now. Now we can focus on the engine. So that's gonna be it for tonight, guys. I'm super excited what we got done with the shift box, the gas tank, and putting up the subframe. I still need to torque the subframe bolts, but I am tired. I probably should have waited on a couple of things. You know, I apologize for the gas tank not having, you know, the footage for that was just terrible. I don't know if something happened to the audio being under the car, but yeah, I spilled some old gas too. The whole garage has been smelling really bad, you know, lightheaded a little bit. So, but we got it done. I hope some of these installs help you guys out a little bit. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I'll see you guys next video. Super.